Global domination. Global domination, I hear you say? Yep, that's right. I am talking about British Asian artists making a huge impact globally with the likes of Jay Sean, m.i.a, Apache Indian, and Bali Sagoo. Let's have a look at the journey from where it all began. British Asian music first started in the 1940s when many Asians immigrated to the UK. Bhangra was the first British Asian music that started in the UK, which is still well known today, and went global with artists in the 1980s, such as the band Alap with their album Teri Chuni De Sitare, Malkeet Singh and Apna Sangeet. They were all established in nightclubs during the Bhangra explosion, as they called it at the time, which was a fusion of Bhangra itself with house, reggae and hip-hop music.
The first British Asian music would be artists from a long time ago, the likes of Alap and Jamie Singh, Hira Group, Apna Sangeet. These are the kind of artists that were artists originally from Punjab that came and settled in the UK and started releasing their music over here.
Fit around than there was at one time. Like I said before, there used to be just Bhangra Bollywood, so we had sort of the likes of the Hira and the B21 and those guys.
Bhangra has also influenced many Western musicians such as Missy Elliott, who used elements of Bhangra in the track Get Your Freak On, as well as influencing the Fugees and Jay-Z.
I mean, you've got the Pussycat Dolls doing things like J-Ho as part of Slumdog. They brought A.R. Rahman, who, within the Asian communities has been well known for years and well respected and admired. But he's only just come to the forefront, I think, outside of that community. And they've kind of brought him out and people have started listening to this and thinking, wow, this is great. Even artists like Timbaland have been using Indian beats in their music for years and years. And now, people are sort of becoming quite curious, I think, as to why people are, in the mainstream are using Indian influences in their music.
In the 1970s, the British disco scene was popular and also incorporated an Asian feel to music, with the music writer and composer Biddu, who managed to make big successful music tracks such as Kung Fu Fighting and I Love to Love, kept British Asian music in the scene 20 to 30 years on. Many people would not know that Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of the well-known global band Queen, was a British Asian and was said to be the most influential Asian in the past 60 years by Time Asia magazine. Later, remix took over and led British Asian music to the mainstream with artists such as Jazzy B, DCS, Apache Indian and Bali Sagoo. Bali Sagoo was famously known to actually come on top of the pops. The remix music is still pretty big at the moment and is getting more people from different cultures enjoying it. Apache Indian also made large hits in the national UK charts by being in 7 top 40 hits with his song Boom Shakalak, which also has been heard in Hollywood movies.
Apache Indian was like an all-time classic, and he broke out a lot. He managed to blend together like the reggae sound with Asian topics and obviously with Punjabi lyrics as well. So people like that, I guess.
As from Stereo Nations, Tariq Khan's Legacy, m.i.a, Jay Sean, Juggy D.
Jay Sean. I've listened to RDB, H Dami, and Juggy D.
The underground Asian artists, who consisted of artists such as Punjabi MC, Swami, Rishi Rich Project and Raghav, brought a new wave of British Asian music to the scene by introducing R&B, hip-hop and western genre into their lyrics and music itself, which led to many British Asian listeners to tune into British Asian music once again. During this time, artists such as Shania Twain also used Indian instruments in her platinum album, which was produced by two British Asians, Simon and Diamond, otherwise known as Swami.
Jay Sean, Punjabi MC, Desi, Juggy D, RDB and pretty much the entire Rishi Rich collective get requested the most. Two other artists who I'd put in there who are not necessarily British Asian but who I think the UK has been very important for would be Imran Khan and Miss Pooja. A lot of requests for these two. I know that they're not of British descent, but I mean Imran Khan has made a big push here in the UK with his albums, and Miss Pooja again has had a massive influence on the Bhangra scene here in the UK. I mean Birmingham I think is pretty much known as the capital of Bhangra across the world, really. I mean, that's quite surprising, but it has actually been known to be described as that. Despite the fact that the music obviously originated in India, Birmingham's become the hub. And, Miss Pooja, I actually went to a Miss Pooja concert, and it was phenomenal, the amount of support that she got. So although those two artists are not British Asian as such, I'd almost put them into the same category, and I do get a lot of requests for those guys as well.
The 90s also introduced the famous song Spaceman by lead singer of the band Babylon Zoo, Jazzman, who sold 418,000 copies of his song in the first week. But now we're having mainstream music artist Jay Sean, who is leaving a huge impact, getting people from both societies, Western and Asian, loving his music, which are now airing on MTV and B4U Music. He has given a lot of British Asians a hope, as well as m.i.a, who has been nominated for 2 Grammys for her song Paper Planes. The other well-known artist who has been hitting the mainstream is the ex-EastEnder and Bombay's Dream star Priya Kalidas, who has been collaborating with UK Western music artists such as Skepta and Bashi. She has also worked with British Asian artist Mumsy Stranger when they performed live on Blue Swimming.
Artists such as Jay Sean have definitely inspired us along the years. I think he's come out with a variety of albums as well, which has shown a good progression in his sound. And it's nice because he's come from sort of humble beginnings, and he's had a great opportunity to make it and break it within the UK and America. So that's definitely something that we've kept an eye on.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's good to see that a British Asian artist has actually come from the same place where we are right now, and had such huge success. It is inspiring. It does make other artists believe that it is possible, and it kind of gives people, keeps people going. Really, it's good.
There's also probably m.i.a.
m.i.a.
has done really well.
Yeah, she's originally from here, right? She's from the UK. Yeah, she's done really well. She's gone out there to
doing her thing.
America, working with some really big producers, really big artists. She's got her own style, which isn't necessarily mainstream. Quite a lot of her music is political, but she definitely gets her message across, and she definitely has a fan base. So she's definitely another inspiring artist.
Jay Sean, certainly from a musical perspective, has been around for a lot longer, so he's released a lot more music, which means there's a lot more that people can request from him. Priya is obviously fairly new to the music scene. Certainly she's only just released a few tracks here and there, and so obviously the requests that come in for her are a much lower level, I think, than Jay.
Jay Sean, I think, is an amazing artist. I think he's very, very talented. He's worked extremely hard from day one, from his early days of working with Jagadi and Rishi Rich. I think that he's an example for people that if you want to achieve something, not just for Asians but as a whole, if you want to achieve something, just put your heart into it, put all of your effort into it, and go for it. Priya Kalidas, I've not really listened to much of her music. I heard that one tune with Skepta. It's okay.
They've set a good example for young Asian musicians and singers and producers, because it just goes to show that you're not limited to just doing music from the Asian music industry, but you can cross over into the mainstream, and it's accepted now to a mainstream audience. That's quite good.
m.i.a. Well, m.i.a's one song called Paper Airplanes, and I thought that was quite good. And I think that Jay Sean is quite fantastic. He's making it big, and he's even done a duet with Lil Wayne, Mary J. Blige, and Sean Paul. So I think he's smashing it big time.
At the moment, a lot of Asian music artists have been coming to Britain to promote themselves, such as Blitzkrieg, Imran Khan, Miss Pooja and Gunjan. Because as they said themselves, Asian music is more popular here, and from then on it progresses globally.
Asian, but who I think the UK has been very important for would be Imran Khan and Miss Pooja. A lot of requests for these two. I know that they're not of British descent, but I mean Imran Khan has made a big push here in the UK with his albums, and Miss Pooja again has had a massive influence on the Bhangra scene here in the UK. I mean Birmingham, I think, is pretty much known as the capital of Bhangra across the world, really. I mean, that's quite surprising, but it has actually been known to be described as that. Despite the fact that the music obviously originated in India, Birmingham's become the hub. And, Miss Booja, I actually went to a Miss Booja concert, and it was phenomenal, the amount of support that she got. So although those two artists are not British Asian as such, I'd almost put them into the same category, and I do get a lot of requests for those guys as well.
With many Asian events that are hosted in London, for example, London Mela, Vaisakhi, Eid, Diwali on the Square, and various other events, music has been able to spread to Western people, and it is really surprising that the impact of the music has hit all nationalities, allowing them to join in. There are more people from different cultures at these events than the Asians themselves, and they tend to enjoy the musical experiences, which makes the people get up and dance and sing along to the music. Most listeners tend to think that there are set types of genres when they listen to British Asian music.
It would be UK Bhangra, because that's what represents British Asian music to begin with. But since now we have British Asians striving to music such as pop, getting into pop industry, getting into R&B, getting into hip hop. I think it covers all of these genres, but mainly I would say UK Bhangra.
More typically Bhangra or plain Hindi.
But at these melas, you tend to see many British Asian acts trying to take the next step, from Bhangra to remixes to rap. Many Asian artists are starting to go into rap, and it's becoming more popular here. But we will have to see if it goes global like Jay Sean's R&B style music, which many up-and-coming artists hope for. Many Asians have various inspirations these days for their music, whether they are old-school Bhangra artists or modern-day R&B artists.
Jay Sean, he's been doing his thing for quite a few years now, so we've watched him climb the ropes, and that's been quite inspiring.
Ragev, same thing. He started a long time ago, same sort of time as Jay. He's done really well as well.
Yeah, the productions of Rishi Rich and Mushtaq.
Yeah.
Rishi Rich. And
Star. I think Rackstar was one of the people that really got me a lot more into addressing certain Asian topics or Asian issues in my music. Before that, I wasn't really. I was a lot more like just general topics. But Rackstar really influenced me in that sense. Listen to RKZ, he's doing well. He's working hard. Swami Barakas.
Jay Sean is the only British Asian act that is known globally than any others at the moment, because the ones of the past have stopped singing. But not everyone thinks that Jay Sean has made British Asians proud or left a huge impact on the industry.
I don't think it did open doors for a few reasons. I think when Jay Sean did it, he came across as very solo, very independent. He wasn't linked to any other British Asian musicians per se. Before he was like Juggy D or Rishi Rich, but after that, when he blew up, he was very much a solo artist who had no other connections to the Asian music scene, if there is a scene. But I think, if you look at the other artists, if you look at North London, when they all came through, like Chipmunk, Rich 32, Sway, everyone, they all came through as one big movement, so one person led to another, to another, to another. Whereas when Jay Sean came through, it was very much just Jay Sean who went through and did his thing, and he was very successful in what he did. But it didn't really open doors. Maybe labels started looking at singers, but that was about it. And I don't think it really grew up. It didn't really blow up from there. It didn't really grow.
I wouldn't say so that it's brought more business to the shop, because it's Jay Sean is he started off with Asian influence in his music with the likes of Rishi Rich and Juggy D, but as he progressed in his career, he became a mainstream artist. So he's now sort of puts himself as a mainstream artist rather than Asian music artist. So I would say that it's been good because it's created interest in Asian music, but not necessarily brought more business for us.
British Asian music for very few artists are going global, but for others it's just at a standstill where success is close to be seen.
We just think that, when we produced this album, we didn't really go in with any set plan or anything. We just done what came natural at that time, what we wanted to make. I mean, a lot of the times, a lot of artists are being managed and, are under contracts with labels, and they're kind of given songs, and they're kind of, you have to do this, we want you to sound like this. We just kind of went into the studio this time and just done what we wanted to do. We wrote the album and co-produced the album with the producers we're working with to say, look, this is how we want the album to sound. Yeah. And we just did that on the basis of what we like, what we enjoy, and what we feel is current. music's like fashion. You know, one thing, fashion's hot 1 minute and then it's not. It's exactly the same as music. You know, next year we could be recording another album and the music would have changed so much. So we want to move with time. We want to stay current, and you know, at the same time, we want to make timeless music. So you know, something that people can listen back to in 5 years' time and think, you know what, that's still a track.
At the moment, I'm working on a few projects. I'm working on my solo mixtape, which is yet to be titled. That's almost ready, so that should be out for May time. And I'm also working on a collaborative project with Rackstar, an EP that we're putting together with a producer called Stigmatic, who's Mauritian, but he's worked with a lot of mainstream artists. So we're just working on that project and just take it from there, one step at a time, one day at a time, because I don't know where I'll be in 5 years.
There are various views of people saying that the success of these artists may or may not help them to set their future career.
That, you know, Jay's obviously broken down the barriers. And I think, you know, hopefully there'll be a wave of new Asian musicians coming through.
Maybe people are more open to listening to...
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that Jay done before he did really break through is kind of get away from the whole, you know, sound, in terms of, you know, a lot of Asian artists nowadays feel that they have to put a lot of South Asian influences in their track in order to kind of represent where they're coming from. But unfortunately, even though, you know, we might like to, you know, have those influences in our track, you know, it's not for the mainstream wider audience, so therefore, you know, you've got to kind of tailor it to the more...
To the right market.
Yeah, to, you know, to the more... to the bigger market.
Yeah, definitely. I think with British Asians producing music in the UK, and then reaching the success of people like Jay Sean, it's enthused youth from this country to produce music, so it has helped, definitely.
The barriers are barriers are there. As an Asian artist, you're shut out anyway. A lot of people don't want to pay attention. They look at it as if, you know, Asians are doing their thing over there, and Asians themselves seem to box themselves in and try and focus particularly on like small avenues. They're looking to get played on Bobby Friction show, on the Har show, or just Asian Network as a whole. Club Asia shut down, so Asians are now focusing on getting their videos to Brit Asia. They're not focusing on doing anything else. So to get Western listeners, you have to work like 10 times harder, and you have to, Western listeners, we are Western, but to get listeners who aren't of Asian orientation, you have to work 10 times harder and really push the other avenues, rather than getting too comfortable as an Asian and thinking, oh, you know, I can make a track and I can send it to Asian Network and yeah, they're going to play it and I'm a star, like a lot of Asians do. You have to really branch out a lot more. As Asian artists, we have to really network together and network with other people and push the boundaries ourselves.
Okay.
There are also different opinions of how British Asian music is being listened to by Western listeners or not, compared to the sounds that were listened to back in the early years.
Asian music has a different vibe to it. It can be UK Bhangra, it can be hip hop, it can be R&B, and it could just be an old sort of Punjabi tune that people want to listen to. And I think why would somebody want to tune into it is because it has a mixture of different vibes, mixture of different sort of beats and different sort of music that it gives. I remember yesterday I woke up to my neighbour playing Amplifier by Imran Khan, and that's a song that has a very different sort of beat to it. And my neighbour was not Asian. To your surprise, he was of South African origin, so it was quite surprising.
I would say that the Western buyers that come to our store, they go for more crossover music, which might be classical or fusion music. The artists which have crossed over into mainstream, their audience would typically buy music from mainstream outlets, which would be like online digital outlets or online physical stores. Physical high street stores.
I think the reason behind that is varied. First of all, music is a universal language. Good music is good music, regardless of what culture it comes from. It really doesn't matter. But on the other hand as well, I think the reason why I may have non-Asians tuning into my show is down to, for example, artists like Jay Sean working with Lil Wayne, Alicia Dixon, Sean Paul, and you've got the likes of Priya Kalidas as well, who've come from EastEnders and released music, and she's of Asian origin. What that does is it has an overlap with the Western culture, and I think it makes people curious, because what happens is that people who are fans of Lil Wayne and Sean Paul and Alicia Dixon will hear someone like Jay Sean on their tracks, and they will think, who's this guy, and what's he all about? Why has my idol, chosen to feature this person on their track? So they'll become curious, I guess, and they'll listen to Asian music and try and find out where, what's so good about this person's music. And I think that has definitely sort of drawn an audience that's non-Asian. On top of that as well, like I was saying before, the Asian music scene as well, it's getting a lot of influences that are non-Asian. We're getting reggae influences in our music now, and R&B and hip hop and all of that. So people who listen to those musics on that kind of music on a mainstream level, I think they may like the Indian influence in the music that they listen to already. And also social networking, I think, does play a part in that as well. With a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter, you've got artists promoting themselves on there, and they may well have friends and colleagues and associates that are non-Asian who become curious and think, this person that I know who's got a day job that's normal actually does this in their spare time. What is it? Let me have a little listen. And that's why I think they take an interest in it.
British Asian music is always making global hits with different genres of music, and this documentary has shown every decade that British Asian music leaves a trail of success and its influence. But the question is, what does the future hold for the up-and-coming artists of today?
I just want to say thank you for all you guys that have been supporting us throughout these years. We have finally finished our album today. It's being mastered. We're at Metropolis Mastering Studios in Chiswick, London. So in a few hours we're going to get the final master copy of our album. This album is going to be coming out this year. We're just putting that together right now, and I just want to say keep supporting us, and keep promoting us, keep pushing us,
and if you're on a similar journey, keep pressing, because this moment right here is what it's all about. I'm telling you.
Just keep persevering and never lose faith, and no matter what you're going to experience, and even if people try and knock you down,
keep pressing.
I think British Asian music has a lot of scope. It has different vibes, different type of music that other people don't have, and they do like to listen to it because it can be upbeat, it can be mellowed, it is very diverse, and that's why I think so many people like it.
I think definitely a lot of people will stay in touch with the roots, and they will still produce Asian language music, but as people in the future generations, the first language at the end of the day is English for people over here, and they do listen to a lot of music which is English or American. So I think in the future there will still be some Asian music produced, but there'll be a lot more mainstream attempts to release music or independent music in English now.
Quite far, because I feel that it opens up doors for other potential Asian artists that want to pursue a career in music.
The British Asian scene to go in the future is for these subgenres to not really exist so much anymore. I think at some point British Asian artists are not going to be labelled British Asian artists. We'll have Asians who are R&B singers or hip hop artists or whatever, but they won't be labelled as Asian. They'll just be a singer in their own right, as opposed to being an Asian singer. I think it's similar to perhaps quite a long time ago, the West Indian community and the black community. Black people can make any music of any genre without being labelled black first and then an artist second. And I think that will happen over time as the quality of the music gets better, as it does overlap into the mainstream a bit more. The artists are going to lose the label of being Asian, and it's just going to become, R&B or whatever, but it may well have Asian influences, underlying in there as well. The other thing that I'm expecting, I think, is for a lot more British Asians to get involved with Bollywood. We've already seen that starting to happen. Hardcore moved from the UK to India to actually work in Bollywood, and she's now got an acting role on top of everything else that she's been doing out there. And you've had the likes of, Juggy D and Mumsy and Jay Sean making tracks that are featured in Bollywood movies. And I think the Bollywood market is quite a lucrative one for British Asians, because over time it's become more and more difficult to make money out of music. With downloading going on and CD sales dropping, it's a lot more difficult for artists to make the money that they used to, even if it wasn't that much anyway. So I think you know, they're sort of almost taking advantage of the fact that Bollywood is so successful, and getting themselves in there will be a good way for them to get a platform, to get noticed, and eventually really to make money out of it.
Basically, there are two different views about British Asian music going global. Some think it is going global and some think it isn't going global. It's just going round in circles that needs to be broken in order to become successful.
If it continues the way it is now, it's not going anywhere. It has to be a collaborative effort from everyone to come together and push each other, rather than, you know, segregating each other and saying, oh, you know, I'm better than this person, I'm better than that person. It has to be a collaborative effort, everyone pushing each other's music and pushing a movement forward and trying to help one another out, really. I think there's a big issue with promoters and artists where if you're making urban music, promoters are like, oh, you know, they're not doing Bangla, they're not Asian, we don't want, you know, they're not doing Asian music, we don't want them on our shows. Or if you do get booked for the shows, the crowds are like, they're not making Bangla music, we don't like it. So it has to be it has to be a wide-scale effort on everyone's part to push forward the music. Bang writers hate urban artists hate Bangla music. So right now it's not in a good situation. I don't think there is a scene anyway. I don't think there's an Asian scene.
My opinion, I think it is going global, and thanks to Jay Sean, we are being noticed, maybe not for Asian lyrics, but still it has given this first step for all British Asian artists here at the moment. Most listeners have their own reason for listening to British Asian music, and thanks to Britain's Got Talent, the song by Tiger Star Nachna Ondani is popular again, along with songs that hit the clubs such as Mundia Baj Ke Rahi, and many more songs that are leaving an impact. There is a future which will only succeed with your help. I would like to say a big thanks to Ali A. Sam, 3 Mix, Gautam Puri, Aksa Chaudhary, Faiza Malik for participating in this documentary.